So no intros this time, motherfuckers. Y'all already know who it is. I ain't gotta tell you who it is. Today I just wanted to talk about Callisto Protocol because this shit's been on my mind for quite some few months. I really wanted to talk about this game because for those that don't know, Dead Space is one of my favorite horror games of all time. Next to Resident Evil, Dead Space is my horror franchise. Like, I just love that world, that atmosphere. I think the Ishimura is one of the coolest horror environments, next to, of course, Silent Hill, next to, I would say, the Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil 1. And to me, this game, like Dead Space, is literally just Resident Evil 4 in space. And I've always kind of loved that about Dead Space. And to hear, the original team, or at least Glenn Schofield, the creator of Dead Space, is coming back to make a spiritual successor to Dead Space, was exciting. Like, I remember just waking up anytime new information about the game was coming out. I remember just being so elated, so excited to hear more about the game. Just hearing Glenn Schofield talk about making Dead Space 1 and, all that process, and to talking about Callisto Protocol, and you could feel the excitement of it. I was excited, man. So I was like, this game cannot fail. And I was like, man, this game is going to even do better than fucking Dead Space Remake. I'm like, fuck Dead Space Remake. This game is going to be it. And then reviews come out. And then people got their hands on it. Reviews came out. And holy shit. I gotta tell you. Whew, that launch week, I was having a livid fucking week. I was livid. I was so livid and so angry. I swear, you could have swear I was about to fucking bust a fucking blood vein. It's just so, just seeing so much hate and so much anger towards the game got me so fucking angry and sad, because I was like, how they could have fucked this up? This is impossible. But after waiting a few months, hearing other people's opinion, and trying to game myself out with the latest patch and whatnot, I have to say, Callisto Protocol, it's just a fine game.
I mean, it's alright, like...
It is not a horrible game. In fact, I think some people are blowing certain aspects of the game out of proportion. On the other hand, there are some problems, and I'm going to talk about this game, and I'm going to compare it to the original Dead Space, because unlike some particular reviewers, and one of them I admire a lot, I'm not going to say her name, I'm not going to say anybody, this is just Dead Space. This is literally just Dead Space, just not done nearly correct as it should be. And I think the underlying thing I have to say about this game, and what hurts it the most, is that it is the perfect example of careless mistakes will ruin a fucking game. Just careless, dumb mistakes ruin an experience. And what do I mean by that? So we're going to use the December update as a prime example of just careless mistakes that could have easily been in the game day one. So in the newest December update, it fixed a lot of bug issues and added a couple of quality of life shit. So in the quality of life part, they increase how fast health is done, and they increase the animation and the reload speed of a lot of guns. That is cool. However, that should have been in the game day one. You want to know why? Because fucking Dead Space has it. Dead Space, when you go to the bench, your bench allows you to upgrade your weapon, and in all the upgrade paths, you can increase your reload speed animation. Why is this not an upgrade path in this game is beyond fucking me. Even Resident Evil 4 has this. The clear game that this took inspiration from has this. Dead Space has this. Hell, even in fucking Dead Space 1, just a quick X button heals your health mad fast. So when you're in a tight situation, you can just heal yourself really quick. Now, I get it. They don't want to copy everything from Dead Space, but motherfucker, you shouldn't have to even have an update where you do quick healing. Take so long. So it's like, it should be a 1, 2, 3. Or if you really want to keep it as, oh, you really have to, it takes long, have an upgrade skill where it just goes fast. I don't see why this was a problem. I don't even see why it's an issue. Not to mention, I don't recommend this game for the PC. Despite even the December update fixing the frame rate issue, it's still all over the place. So I cannot highly recommend this game on the PC. Like, cannot. Get the, if you're gonna play this game, get it on the Xbox or the PS5 edition. Do not get it on the PC. And this hurts because I'm a huge PC gamer, and as someone who encouraged people to get more into gaming PC, that was fucking annoying dealing with this game. Another perfect example of just careless mistakes is the combat / gameplay. Like, the combat in this game is fun, and that's because of the great audio design of this game. Like, when you hit a motherfucker, it feels good. It feels so satisfying, and I have no complaints. Like, I love that if you hit an enemy after you do the final attack, the game does a slow-mo, and then you can pull out your gun and shoot the enemy. In some cases, enemies will have their tentacles out, and so if you shoot them in their tentacles, it's an instant kill. So for the most part, I was always had ammo on me because I would just always aim for that, aim for their weak spot. And that's a cool little premise and back and forth. When you're in the heat of the moment and you're fighting enemies with your baton, it's the coolest shit. However, where this game falls apart is when you have to fight multiple enemies. Not 1, not 2, 3, 4, maybe even more. The game just cannot keep up. And it's because the game lacks a indicator or sound indicator or an indicator that says, hey, this enemy is behind you and is about to attack. So an incoming attack is coming. Get ready to dodge. It doesn't have that shit. So half of the time you have enemies in the back of you hitting you and you're like, what the fuck? I didn't see you. How the fuck was I supposed to know that? Now, Dead Space doesn't have that, but what Dead Space has is a simple get off me move. They have stasis, so it freezes the enemy and you can freeze your enemy. There's certain guns, like the force gun allows you to like force push a motherfucker off of you. I believe the contact beam, the alt fire for it, he like slams the gun down on the floor and it just blows everything back. There's weapons in that game that incentivizes you to get enemies off of you. This game has no fucking weapon that's like that. Only thing it has is the kinesis gauntlet, the grip, and that is good, but it doesn't really help you in the sense of like, hey, like, there's an enemy at back of me, there's enemies in front of me, I need something that's gonna do an AoE attack that's gonna push these enemies off of me, which is baffling because Dead Space has those shits. This is what I mean about this game. Careless mistakes. Not to mention, and this is one part where I'm going to actually defend the game. The game has a dismemberment system, just like in Dead Space. The dismemberment, so if you shoot off a leg, the enemies will start crawling. You shoot off an arm, the enemies won't do certain moves. Like, I noticed a lot of reviewers and a lot of people have not talked about the dismemberment system and how it actually makes combat a little bit more simpler. My issue is, and this is my theory on why people don't talk about it, is because the game doesn't incentivize you to use that dismemberment system. There are so many moments where I shot an enemy arm off and I noticed that they don't do their second attack or they don't do their third attack. They will just be like, they'll do their first attack and then they'll stop. And it was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. And it led to a lot of interesting combat scenarios where I would just shoot off an arm and now that enemy can't do anything. Or I'll shoot off the leg, and if you shoot off the leg and you will do a melee attack on the floor, it's an instant kill. So again, there's cool mechanics in the game, but the game doesn't incentivize you. And because the game doesn't incentivize you to do that, nobody talks about it. Now, what the game needed was weapons that incentivizes you to dismember your enemies, such as, in Dead Space, you have the line gun, and the alt fire is that it switches horizontal to line up your shots. You have the line gun, which shoots a large arc of pulse energy out, and it's like the Ripper, which is literally a chainsaw gun that shoots out a blade and rips things apart. The game has that game has those mechanics that incentivizes you to use the dismemberment system. This game doesn't fucking have that. So half of the time you don't know that there's a dismemberment system, or that it helps out with combat a lot. And it's baffling. It is so baffling. The only thing that this game tells you is that, if you shoot an enemy on when the tentacles are out, that's their weak spot and that's an instant kill. That's cool, but show people, it should have been multiple moments where the game has showed you where that dismembering people actually works and actually is helpful. That is, again, just careless mistakes. I can't keep saying that. Just careless, dumb mistakes. Also, just enemy variety. I'm so baffled that there's not a lot of enemy varieties. There's only like the exploding enemies that you get later on in the game. There's the standard biophage mutant guys, and then the taller versions of that, and then these invisible enemies, and then these basically discount clickers in the game, and that's it. And maybe the mutated versions of each variation, and that's it. And if you was like me, where you're playing the game kind of like shooting the tentacles and playing it kind of straight, you hardly got to see the mutated versions of those enemies. And it's kind of baffling that there's not many more variety or different enemy types, or even some that just do different things. Look at Dead Space. Again, I'm gonna use Dead Space in this video a lot. Dead Space has so many different versions of necromorphs. There's the slashers, which is defaults. Then you have the black versions. Yes, the black necromorph. The black ghetto necromorph is coming for your ass. Anywho, the black versions of that. Then you have the baby necromorphs, and then you have the Slender Man version of the necromorph, where if you shoot at their parts, they'll collapse and then disperse, and then they'll start attacking you. Then you have the pregnant necromorphs. Then you have the wall guardian. Then you have the leapers, as I call them. There's so many different necromorphs. Later on in the game, you get the twitchies, which moves extremely fast, and again, just so many different variations. And this game should have had more variations of the biophase aliens, which is weird that it doesn't. I'm so baffled on that. I don't get it. I'm like kind of scratching my head on why there's not different versions of these guys. Like, it's just weird, especially it's coming from the guys who did Dead Space. This is basic horror 101, is that you need variations or different versions of enemies. Not to mention, if you're going to incentivize on a melee system, why don't we have different melee customization, like a chainsaw or something, a sledgehammer, something like that? Like, you get a metal pipe at the beginning of the game. Why don't we get the upgraded version of the baton would be a chainsaw, again, to show that dismemberment system? Just simple shit. And again, it's not that the combat's bad, it's that the combat lacks things that are basic shit that should have been in there. Just should have been in there. basic shit. And let me also defend the game and say this, that I find it very weird and funny how people say, oh, the game is too linear. I'm like, motherfucker, Resident Evil 4 is linear. Like, you just go through waves of enemies. But what makes it good and what makes it cool that you guys don't realize it is that the goddamn game actually sets up new scenarios with every enemy encounter. That's why I consider Resident Evil 4 like basically a puzzle game. It's just the combat is the puzzle. So I don't get that complaint. I don't understand that complaint. I think that's weird. The game not being scary. I think horror is subjective. What some people may find scary, other people may not. So for me personally, I think Dead Space, the original Dead Space is scary. Simply put it, because Dead Space atmosphere is creepy. The Ishimura is just a creepy ass place. Like, you're hearing fucking sounds 24/7, and it always feels like someone's whispering at you. Of course, there's necromorphs always crawling around the air vents, and it's just a creepy ass environment. It's one of my favorite horror environments to be in. So to a lot of other people, that may not be creepy, you know. Jump scares or may freak them out and whatnot. I think Callisto Protocol is not scary because I just don't find the atmosphere to be that terrifying. A prison isn't scary to me at all, you know. Maybe if there were scenarios in the prison that were scary, that would be fine. I also think, you know, I do agree a little bit with people, is that it overplays its hand a little bit on some jump scares, but so does Dead Space. Sometimes there'll be a necromorph go across the screen and you'll be like, what the fuck? And then 2 minutes later it'll just pop up and it's like, motherfucker. And it would do that a lot. It does that a lot, and I found that very interesting. In fact, the dismemberment system of Dead Space, the tutorial prompt happens like 5 times. There's an audio log. There's a bloody person's blood is on the wall saying cut off the limbs. Hamilton hits you up. You know, then the game tutorializes and say cuts off, you need to dismember enemies. So 4 to 5 times the game encourages you or tells you to cut off the limbs. So Dead Space overplays its hands too, but y'all don't criticize it for that, which is fine. So it is what it is. And it even goes down to even story, you know. I think even the story has like just careless fucking mistakes. Like, just careless. This is a careless game. And it's funny because the story of Callisto Protocol is literally just Dead Space. This is a continuation of Dead Space. I don't understand how Glenn Schofield could sit there and be like, well, when you play this game and you beat it, this is not going to feel like Dead Space at all. Trust me, it's its own unique thing. It's literally you just copy and paste Dead Space, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. We all want Dead Space, so I'm not fucking complaining about that. My issue, and my biggest fucking problem, is that it's not told well. There's tons of things that they copy off of Dead Space. The circle, I think the circle is literally just unitology from Dead Space universe. The alien biophage shit. It is literally just the marker / xenomorphs. There are homages to Dead Space. The freefall section in Callisto Protocol, taken straight from Dead Space 2. The planet being this icy planet that you can't see shit, literally taken from Dead Space 3. the slight, obvious tension between Jacob and Danny from Dead Space 1 with Kendra and Hamilton. It's all there, it's just told poorly. I think the reason I'm saying it's told poorly is because you don't care about these characters. And that's because the game doesn't tell you about these characters until near the end of the story. Dead Space tells you about all its characters right off the beginning. You don't know what's going on the ship, but you know Kendra is a tech expert. What you call his name? Hamilton is security, and Isaac is engineer expert. They're both using their fields in different ways and helping each other in the game. However, what makes Dead Space interesting and makes the story interesting is that there's constant tension between Kendra and Hamilton. You don't know who to trust. Kendra's leaving things out, Hamilton's leaving things out. Kendra's doing shady shit, and sometimes you can't hear from her. Hamilton's doing some crazy, shady shit. So Isaac, throughout the whole game, is fixing up the Ishimura, and you don't know who to fucking trust. And when you get to the ending, you actually find out that Kendra was a secret agent. And it's interesting, because it's like, holy shit, I didn't know who to trust, and I knew something was up, but I didn't know it was you. So when her betrayal comes, it's kind of shocking. In here, in Callisto Protocol, Jacob is a bland character until the very end of the game, where we discover the cargo shipment, because he's a cargo pilot. He delivered some medicines to this one planet, and then it had a virus installed in the back of the trunk. And when Jacob delivered it, unintentionally he unleashed a virus. That's interesting. And then he feels guilt, and that's why I think Jacob is an interesting character, because he feels guilty about what happened on the planet, and it caused the death of Danny's sister, and she gets labeled a terrorist for that, even though she had nothing to do with it. Jacob unintentionally had something to do with that viral infection on the original planet, which explains why he's sent to prison and why is trying to escape the prison. Interesting things. However, the game decides, let's not tell you that information until halfway near the end of the game. By that time, you don't care about Danny and her situation with her sister and why she's such an asshole throughout the whole game. You don't care about Jacob and his horrible ordeal. And then this one prisoner dude named Elias, which, funny enough, one of my homeboys' name is Elias. Shout outs to you, Elias. That's the GOAT over there. But he dies, and you don't give a fuck because you get no backstory in this. I also think, in terms of lore, I think the game does a horrible job of building up at lore. Because the game, I've listened to most of the documents, which, by the way, this game documents fucking suck, because this game documents require you to pick up the item pick up the item and then manually have to go through and listen to whatever voice recording happened, which is fucking weird. They're fucking stupid, because in Dead Space, once you pick up an item, automatically text pops up, or you'll automatically listen to the audio bit. I don't understand why there's not a button where you can just press to listen to these entries, these journal entries. It's really bizarre. Like, Dead Space figured it out. Why can't you figure it out? I have to stop and figure out, and God forbid, it doesn't even give you an indication what part, which is a new audio log or text log to read. You have to just figure it out on your own, which is completely baffling. And so this just leads to a lot of just dumb shit. Just dumb shit. again, the story has potential, but it's just told fucking weird and just piss poor that you don't give a fuck about these characters. And it's weird. It's a weird fucking game. This game is the weirdest fucking game I've played. And again, I don't know what more to say on this game. And don't even get me started on the ending. The ending is a cliffhanger ending that sets up for the DLC, which I fucking hate. I didn't like this for Asura's Wrath. I didn't like this for Dead Space 3 Awakening. Why the fuck would I accept it for fucking Callisto Protocol? I don't like when companies charge people just to figure out an ending of a game. Yes, pay me more for the real ending. Can you imagine if movies did that shit? Oh, you gotta pay extra just to watch a fucking ending of a movie? That's ridiculous. That is silly and ridiculous. Overall, this game to me harkens back to my time in college, where one of my English professors used to tell me, hey, Mr. Degenerate, your writing is spectacular. There's a lot of great ideas you have here, and the writing is really well done, and I really like it. However, because of your careless mistakes, because you forgot to proofread, you forgot to just add things that are just common sense shit to add, ultimately your paper was a bust. And that's how I feel about Callisto Protocol. Callisto Protocol is like reading one of my essays. It's pretty fucking good. It's got some enjoyable moments. However, it is tarnished by just poor, dumb shit that could have been easily been avoided if Callisto Protocol had just took the fucking time to just proofread it shit and rechange things. The ideas are there. The ideas are good. They just need to reorganize and rechange and do things. Recently, they have come out and said how much the game has sold. It sold 2 million copies, which is pretty fucking good for a new IP. But the studio wanted 5 million, which that shit was not going to happen. Although I can kind of understand because it is the original Dead Space, but the original Dead Space didn't even sell that much. So I don't understand that bullshit. So hopefully, if we get a sequel, it will be banging and it will be popping and it will learn from all the mistakes. But as of right now, would I recommend this game? Unless you're a hardcore Dead Space fan like me, I would not recommend this game. I will only recommend this game for those who are hardcore Dead Space fan. And even that, I would tell you, wait for a sale. I can never say that my time with this game was horrible, but I can't say that it was fucking amazing. So it is what it is. Hopefully we'll get a better game in the sequel, if we get a sequel. That being said, it's your boy Mr. Degenerate signing off. If you enjoyed the video, please comment, rate, subscribe, all that fun shit. And until next time, guys, stay safe and have a good one.